But after sunlit days, one thing stays the same. Rises the moon. Days fade into a watercolor blur. Memories swim and haunt you. But look into the lake, shimmering like smoke. Rises the moon. Close your weary eyes. I promise you that soon the autumn comes to darken fading summer skies. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Days pull you down just like a sinking ship. Floating is getting harder, but tread the water, child, and know that meanwhile rises the moon. Days pull you up just like a daffodil, uprooted from its garden. They'll tell you what you owe, but no, even so, rises the moon. You'll be visited by sleep. I promise you that soon the autumn comes to steal away each dream you keep. Breathe, breathe, breathe.
Hello everyone, my name is Notepad Addon and I write games for fun. So what are we doing today? Well, today we're going to be working on Pojedynek Kobiet, Krew na Sukience. 3 actually, and we're going to be working on a decidedly unfun section for one very particular reason, and it's going to be unfun simply because there's a lot of it, and I'm going to be having to sit at this desk here and stare at it, trying desperately to reason out why it's not working. And that is the drama section, effectively. The drama about honor and all that jazz. Pretty much the justification to getting into duels. Yeah, we have to do that today. I have the basic ideas behind it. I know how it's going to work. It's just about doing it. So also, I would like to thank why do you guys never have real names? The Genteel Loon. I'd like to thank Loon for following. Welcome aboard. We have officially 123 followers, which is kind of weird to think. 123. Where a year ago now, I was at about 70 or something. Weird to think. Times have changed quite a bit. And we're going to be an end of an era probably by the end of the week, because I'm going to be moving, as I've been saying. I'm going to be moving. It's going to be a slightly different audio. Hopefully everything remains relatively the same. It's just going to be probably a little bit different until I get things set up more officially. But that's how it goes. That's how we go. That's how we go. Gabagoo. Hell, okay. People are posting cringe. Yeah, so that's kind of generally the basic gist of what the plan is today. We're going to be working on a very particular section. As you can kind of see here, the relationships and ensemble mechanic and the overhaul the dignity system. Once those are done, I'm feeling pretty good. Like, generally speaking, my goal is Monday. Today is going to be the relationships, I should say, is relationships and dignity. Dignity. Now, and then on let me see, Wednesday, I'm aiming for more of the, more of the weapons and such. Kind of things like the blunt weapons, long weapons, just having a gun. And kind of ending on Friday by adding more stuff. It's been kind of a slow run just because there's been a lot of little stuff to factor in with this particular game or particular Redux. So it's kind of like, okay, we got to manage this. Oh, we got to manage this. That reminds me, what I should do is I can't show anyone the forums. Actually, I can show people the forums. This is Notocracy proper. Notocracy has fired, as you can see here. The current leader of we have Death 100. I can see God, he's pissed. Currently at 7 votes. And leading the pack, the second is Bodie McBoatface and the Spanish Problem, as well as Kumastani Immigration Forums. Those are the current 3 headers. However, Shining Highway, Eurobeat Remix, 2-Hour Loop is also kind of in there. All 3 of these technically have equaled out. I don't believe... Let's see. Oh, yeah. Konami Will Never Find Me. It's kind of lagging behind a little bit, and their tag is Hirlik is also behind. But here's the. I'm gonna give you all a little bit of a spoiler warning. One of the plutocrats voted for this one, so it's technically far ahead of everybody else currently, like pretty far ahead. And I go with what the plutocrats want, nothing more, nothing less. And also, apparently, people have been somehow along the way, people have decided to, there's 22 responses, mind you. However, some people just haven't voted. I don't know why. Let's actually check. Let's pretty consistently, whoever voted for the war game obviously wants a boyfriend. I know who that is. Let's see. Bodie McBoatface and the Spanish Problem gets pretty consistent votes. For some reason, this person just didn't vote. Let's see. We got one person who just didn't vote. Let's see. Do we have any other ones? Yeah, this person didn't vote. Which, fun fact, the thing is, like, I don't know if I should factor this in as a vote because it's actually on here. I don't think they realize that. Like, yeah, I don't think they realize that it's actually on here. But yeah, that's the current voting situation. Generally speaking, things are going pretty consistently. About as average as I was thinking about. Which is perfectly fine with me. Yeah, this is kind of my general gist of things. Most likely Friday will be a No Pen Must Die in that regard, simply because there's quite a bit of things I want to add and just kind of adding everything together, which if we go down here, we kind of see all of these sections. I do have a slightly updated map, adding in Big Crete and Big Iceland in there because I hate you and I find it funny. Let's see. Yes, the ethnic ties. Those need to be a little bit updated, but generally speaking, we need to do this. The relationships and the ensemble. Now, this is actually taken almost directly from this is almost taken directly from this particular one, actually. This is actually where this originally came from, and I've adapted it to other systems quite a bit. And because of that, I need to overhaul things slightly. Generally speaking, I want to break relationships down into 2 categories. That's how I'm kind of seeing it anyway. Is we have, how do I want to do this? It's the, pretty much what I want everything to have is I want to have like an over relationship and then kind of like an under relationship. Like, formally, you two are good friends. Like, formally, we're good friends, but kind of underneath that, it's kind of like we just fucking hate one another. you know, everyone has these kind of like these actual relationships and secret relationships, and it should be kind of interesting where you kind of discover something about another person, especially when it's just the same thing. And kind of how I want most things to be written is like, you know, how do I want to word this? Like friends, and then like friends like slash, you know, like friends would be you're overtly friends and you're also privately friends. Actually, that could be a good one. That could be a good way of doing that. We could do public slash private. That could also work. So it's kind of like your public life versus your private life. Privately speaking, you're this way. Publicly, you're this way. Or we could steal it from Wandering Heroes a little bit, I guess. Would that work? Would be need to include indeed. Yeah, it's... the worst part is, like, I can see it in my head of what it is. That's always the worst part, is that you can see it right up here, what you want to say. And sometimes it's just not, the words aren't there. So actually, let's see, let's see, relationships of those, the relationships of those at court. Actually, this doesn't need to be that. Relationships with those at court is an essential part of life in the upper class. Keeping your fellow aristocrats in check and keeping factionalism to a minimum is mandatory to running a tight ship when the economy is failing and the war effort isn't going great. Essential part of life of the upper class. No, we do period, keeping factionalism to a minimum. When the game begins, the Imperial Auditor will designate one or two major Kobieta, actually Kobieta, no Kobietas, which is fun. Again, here's a Polish lesson for everybody. Kobieta is effectively the plural of kobiet. Kobietas is effectively a plural's plural, which is not how that language works, and it sucks, and I hate it. Player Kobiet, no. Let's see, one or two major Kobieta. When the game begins, the Imperial Auditor will designate one to two major Kobiet. This is one of those weird things, because you can interpret anytime the word Kobieta is said as women, anytime Kobiet is said is woman. Where, in the proper English way, is when the game begins, the Imperial Auditor will designate one or two major women that the woman knows, which is a really weird sentence, but also completely accurate. So what would be the Imperial Auditor designates one to two major Kobieta that the Kobiet, actually we don't need to do that Kobieta, that the player's Kobiet will know themselves to some manner. Okay. Learning the Polish language with Notepad on. I should just do that. Do Duolingo streams and just fail miserably with learning Polish. Okay, so we want to keep in that kind of like private, public / private relationships in check. We'll designate one to two major Kobieta women that the player will know. I'm going to use this simply because it's a really weird sentence. They connect themselves in some manner. Actually, from there. Okay, so from there, begin to create members of the ensemble. Each Kobiet each character created during this time must be connected. Must be connected to a previously established character in the web. How do I want to do this? Actually, player characters, the Kobiet will have a public and private relationship with every character connected to them. These relationships. Wait, are you translating a Polish game? No. This particular game, Pojedynek Kobiet, Krew na Sukience, is. Wait, I forgot. I gotta do that. This is literally a name of something I came up with because all this says is the women's duel, or the woman's duel, blood on the dress. If I really wanted to do this correctly, this would be Kobieta, the women's duel, but it's like the woman's duel because that's the entire idea of this. And the thing is that it's set in cursed Europe. As you can see here, very cursed, terrible Europe. Most notably in the Austrasian Imperial Authority, which has a group of people who are effectively Polish. And pretty much the entire reason is that the Polish people in this setting are called Cossins, or like Polish Cossacks. And they pretty much did this thing called the Pojedynek Kobiet, which is the women's duel, which is allowing women at this point to duel each other with swords in place of men because World War I is happening and everybody doesn't want to look outside. Looking outside is scary. Not a Polish game, though I do know for a fact. Oh, trust me, I did make up some new. See, the thing was, here's the amusing thing. This particular game was created for a game jam. I had a month to work on this. And I did it on the weekend. So effectively, I had 4 days to work on this. And I pretty much made a point about that, being like, I have 4 days to work on this. And it was it was made during the era of a very other certain game that I'm like relatively known for at this point. Otherwise known as fucking Thirsty Sword Lesbians. I'm like, I want to write a game that is actually about sword fighting, and I was also getting fairly interested in Song of Swords during this time as well. So it kind of escalated to a point where everything culminated in this, because this is a fencing game at its core. And it's a fencing game that is very deadly. One bad hit and there's a very good chance you're going to kill one another. For context sake, where is it? So, let's say for example you both attack one another and you score equal successes. You're going to hit each other with a sword. Most people have about 8 health on their chest. A standard rapier will do about 3 damage. Like, there's a good chance if you score like 3 successes over them, you're going to do 6 damage by stabbing them in the chest, and that's probably going to at least send them to the hospital. And this is not like, this is 1912 tier medicine. Very specific theme, and this is actually one of my older games at this point. It's a few years old. I think it's about 2 years old at this point. Weirdly specific themes is what I do best. I think when I give myself a lot of restrictions, or I give myself like a very particular thing to work on, I get my best games. When I give myself a little bit too much leeway, things get a little bit wonky. So that's why I actually really like commission projects outside of being paid. It's just like, here's a really specific thing that you're kind of being forced to accommodate. So let's see. Player characters, the Kobiet will have a public and private relationships with every character connected with them. These relationships have a value from +3 to -3. Representing the disposition of the characters. The public relationship is the quote known relationship. Known relationship of the court. It's what people expect of the Kobiet and the person. Fucking flies. I hate fruit. It is that time of the year, and these little fucking fruit flies are everywhere. I have like a dozen of them dead on a fucking piece of fly paper, and there's a few of them just don't want to die. Every year it happens. It gets so annoying. To a degree, proper shape and form. More along just like, I wanted to add a bunch of things and kind of just patch things up a little bit. Like, there were some, like, notes that were kind of weird on it. So it's like, you know what, let's just kind of patch things up. Let's make it a little bit better. And kind of put a nail in it in a way. I actually won an award for this game, actually. The Game Design Guild Game Jam Award. I think I had, what was it? It was something stupid. Oh yeah, the best I had the best concept and mechanics runner up. Yeah. Woo, go me. I'm a real boy. That's my claim to fame. So let's see. There was like 6 people who submitted, and one of them literally had a game called Who Baby Dat, written by a middle-aged white woman who was about trying to identify whose child it is. It's like, okay, maybe this sounds really impressive. Not actually that impressive. Wait a moment. Wait a fucking moment. Let's say it's people expect the Kobiet and the person. Sounds like a shit post. It kind of was. Like, I think it kind of was. I don't know though. That particular developer, they're very nice. Don't get me wrong. They're very nice. I have no idea what they work on though. The public relationship is a known relationship with the court. It's what people expect the Kobiet and the person. The private relationship reflects the personal feelings of the character of the Kobiet and the character toward one another. These can be the same. These can be the same or vastly different. So kind of like the idea, what I'm kind of aiming for here is, let's say you have a friend. You like this person. You guys have grown up together. You're very good friends. You are childhood friends. And you have a +2 with each other as your public relationship. Everybody knows you two are best friends. Like you, and let's leave +3. Everybody knows you two are best friends. And everyone kind of expects that from you. And the idea being like, yeah, you guys have literally been together since you were children. Since you were babies, effectively. And you growing up together, it's kind of like, yeah, of course you guys are friends. Privately, on the other hand, you kind of have this kind of more odd relationship with one another. You know, one of them might say, you know, one character, the the one, you know, the Kobiet, personally, may have the private relationship, but still, this is my best friend. I love this person. They are my best friend. I respect them in everything they do. However, the other character might have, you know, jealous rival toward you, where it's like, you guys are friends, and like, they clearly do see you as a friend, but they also kind of don't like you sometimes. They kind of want to one-up you, because they've always played second fiddle to you. You don't really know this private relationship until you kind of learn about it. These ones are, I think the best way to say this is, the public relationships is public knowledge. These ones are private knowledge. These can be very different between people. Mostly when you engage in a duel, for example, if these two were to engage in a duel, she, here right down here, would actually get two bonus to adrenaline, which is pretty much 2 extra dice to distribute, while the Kobiet herself would actually get 3 less dice. So she would start with 7 dice, and her friend would actually start with 12. Which, in a game where 1 or 2 successes can mean success or complete failure, that's pretty fucking bad. Because you have such a wildly different opinion on one another. Like, yeah, you confide with her in everything, but she also wants to one-up you? Again, there's a relationship there, there's something there. Or it could be something along the lines of, if you wanted something a little bit more positive, which is, you can just say, you know, neutral. Literally, people view you and this other person as complete acquaintances at best. Nothing much. Secretly, however, you guys fuck. You clearly like this person. They clearly like you. But nobody else knows that, except you two. And that could be something interesting, or something very, you know, controversial, if it's the, you know, it's the Kobiet, for example, and, you know, the, you know, you want to fuck, you know, you are literally in love with the man, with your rival's husband, effectively, and he clearly loves you, but you don't, like, yo, we're neutral toward each other, being like, but yeah, there's something going on there, and if that's discovered, something could happen. These relationships are positive and negative to you, not positive and negative to anybody else, necessarily. You don't, yeah, these don't need to be friends. Like, if you could piss people off pretty easily. like, hey, yeah, no, I'm like having sex with your husband or something, or hey, I am sleeping with your wife. You're like, don't worry about it. It's okay, but it's not okay. It's never okay. It's people expect the Kobiet in the person. Private relations is personal. Or vastly different. The private relationships kept secret until they are revealed to the Kobiet properly, or are uncovered with a bit of snooping. So let's see. So these can be better. So let's see. Actually, let's bump this. We're not gonna bump it up to. These relationships have a let's say a normal value from 3 to 5, representing disposition of the characters. When relationships become when relationships between characters become relevant, such as being lovers or bitter rivals, the Kobieta the women add the value of the relationship, regardless of Add the value of the relationship to the role. Actually, we change this to when the relationship between Kobieta become relevant, such as being lovers or bitter rivals, the Kobiet add the value of the relationship to their role. Taking away dice if it is going against the relationship. Positive relations can be added to friendly interactions and convincing. And then we're going to probably put a footnote here, which is, for example, a Kobiet has a +3 with her friend, with her best friend. If she is trying to convince her to come with her to a meeting, then she will gain +3d6 to her attempt. If she is trying to deceive her friend, then she takes away a -3d6 from her attempt. Pretty much the idea of, like, if you're trying to go against your friend, it's going to be harder. It's harder to lie to our friends. It's sometimes easier to convince our friends or harder to lie to them simply because they're people we care about. You don't want to lie to your best friend. This person's gone through hell with you. Maybe you can afford to do it, though. Like, maybe it's okay. Actually, I should say is... Actually, when in public, the the women must use their public relationships with one another. But in private, the Kobieta may use their private relationship instead. It's kind of like along the lines of, we're best friends. I care about you greatly, kind of publicly. We're best friends. Secretly, however, I fucking hate you. We just genuinely dislike each other, but we've been kind of stuck together for so long that we're kind of impossible to separate. I may get a bonus to deceive you if we're kind of in private, where we're allowed to be a little bit sneakier with one another. I'm allowed to kind of not really put on those formalities. I may say everything right, but it's like very clearly like I'm doing something because you aren't my friend. Privately, you aren't. Publicly, you are, but privately, no. To your friend, that she takes away a -3. Let's use a private relationship instead. During duels, private relationships will always be used. Let's see, okay, so there we go. If we do this, we put you right, shrink you down to be really small. There's a reason for that, because if you don't do that, it's going to break. I want to do something like, if we bring it up to full size, we do this. I'm going to have to put this over here for a minute. Generally speaking, I don't need to add hidden relationships anymore because that's not really a thing, but I'm going to put in the estates. So this is heading 2, so I need to do heading 3. We'll do the estates. Actually, we should do blood relations and then the estates. Blood relations. Building. Ballin', but at what cost? So let's see. Actually, footnote. Where do I put this footnote, though? That's the big question. Where do we put the footnote? Actually, taking adds dice against the relationship. So we do insert footnote, paste this here. Deceive. Perfect. Expand this out a smidge and. Okay, so blood relations. I want family to be a little bit different, so we're going to do actually blood, mama. Actually, we'll do blood, family, and history. Historical, I should say. About living toy, about living toys. They're like, this is one of those things because it's one of those genres, I guess you would call it. It's kind of hard to say, but like the idea of living toys. For context, to everybody watching at home, there was a conversation in my server yesterday, I believe, about the nature of games involving things like Toy Story, and mostly because we were talking about the Buzz Lightyear movie coming out. And the idea of running games about toys. Mostly things like living toys, i.e. we're just playing Toy Story and various other facets. I would say there's 3 ways to approach it. And that's kind of like, we're gonna have a little, we'll detour a little bit here. I can afford to do this because it's my stream and I can do whatever I want. Is like living toy things kind of, ironically enough, they kind of fall into like a idea behind like a little bit like magical girls in a way, where you can either have the like overtly positive lights, because like Toy Story doesn't really have like a big plot in mind. It's pretty self-contained. Like, it's like, yeah, your toys are alive, and they do toy things, and guess what, everybody? They want to help you out. They're trying to get back to Andy, because they all like Andy. And that's the idea. Ooh, woo. Toy Story. Disney, don't sue me. You can also go down more like a, how do I want to word this? More like a dark route in a way. There was one game they were trying to do. What was it called? Nightlight? Like TTRPG? Was that it? Yeah, it was Nightlight. That's what it was called. Oh, it must have got deleted. Because I remember this was a TG game, Nightlight. And yeah, role-playing game Overcome Your Fears by TG, which was actually fairly detailed. I wonder if it's still on 1D4. Remember 1D4 Chan? Yeah, nobody else does either. Viral game, Makers of Engine Heart. Yeah, I don't think it's really coming out. My viral game's got viral's fucking dead, so we can't have nice things. But yeah, this is actually a relatively popular, I remember this, it was a relatively popular idea and got a lot of traction on it. And it was kind of like, there's the formless horrors and stuff like that. You can kind of go down. Yeah, and you can, or you can, yeah, you kind of got the dark route. You also got the weird route, which is like more, let's talk about deeper symbolism of toys and shit like that. Like, it's kind of hard to kind of like nail it down. And do you go for like every kind of toy? You know, specific toys? Specific toys? Or like, you know, or is it just like stuffed toys? Like, it's kind of like one of those things, like you can go for a lot of different approaches to it, and none of them are like the right option. That's the big thing. There's not like a single, there's not like this single, like, yes, this is the correct option. And that's where things get a little bit complicated. Like if I had like this one needs like a strong anchor. Once you get that, like, just a strong anchor to hold everything together, I think it'll work just fine. If you were like, oh, this is about, you know, this is about army men, you know, pretending to be in a, you know, in a real war, where you have things like, yeah, you're fighting over a shelving unit, or hey, people like little Timmy is gonna bring out his fucking toy tank because he wants to play with the tank. What do you do in that situation? You know, it's more like Army Men, that one. Remember that series of games, Army Men? Like, I remember playing the shit out of Army Men. I adored this game. This was the best game ever. Like, because it was just really... Wait, it's in Steam? Damn it. Doesn't run very well. I'm like, I remember playing this. This was a blast, because it was kind of like that idea of like deadly serious, but everyone had to kind of maintain things. You can also go down like oh no, it's the nameless horrors route. It's kind of like you need like something to like tie everything together. If you get that strong thing to just anchor all the parts together, I think you can get a pretty fun Living Toys game. And kind of if you were to pay, if it was kind of like gun to head kind of situation, I would either go down the Toy Story route, which is literally like, hey, you are all living toys and you're dealing with living toy problems, and with the overall threat being, you know, you're playing these situations, you're playing these, you know, fun little, you know, you're going on these wild adventures that the kid is like, the idea being that the kid is playing with you. That's the, you know, that's kind of the idea. That could be kind of fun. Like, yeah, one session we're in the Wild West, and then like halfway through the GM could be like, I don't want to do this anymore. We're going to space, because you have a 5-year-old, and now the army man that he's playing with and the Barbie doll that he has that his sister gave, that was a hand-me-down from his sister, are now in space. There's no rhyme or reason. You just have to deal with it. That would be a little bit chaotic, and there would literally half that game would be a GM section. See, the best thing about the Army Men game is that all I need to do to make an Army Men game, I go here and I just adapt this, or more accurately, if you really want me to be specific with it, I need to go to... It would not take me too long to do, but I would literally just adapt Boots and Mud for it, just to adapt everything over and just amp up the kind of the silly aspects of it. That's all I would do for that. Which you can get the first Sprugazine, War on the Relic Frontier, right now. Boots and Mud and Iron Caskets, plus 2 articles that I wrote. And if you don't like itch.io, guess what, everybody? You can also go to Drive-Thru RPG, ignore FJ Gaming. It pops up for them all the time. Look, everybody, it's me, Sprug Workshop, your boy right here. 4 stars, rated 5 stars. Boost my reviews. My ego depends on it. Wow, shameless plugs from Notepad. There are actually a few Army Men war games out there. I actually know for a fact, like, yeah, like this one kind of came to mind, Combat Storm. This is actually a fairly big one that popped up. And it's fairly detailed, and you can get these, you can get these anywhere. I know someone in the Army Men war game. I think this was the one. Was it? No, this wasn't him. There's another guy in the thread, in the monthly homebrew thread, who was doing a Army Men game. Like there's a lot of options for Army Men games, but I think there's also another thing when it comes to war games, is the same way that I think war games kind of fall into the same thing like some tabletop games do, where there's a lot of war games out there. There's a ton of role-playing games out there, and some of them just get lost in the cracks. Like, and there's a reason I like I do the videos the way I do them. It's like I want to introduce people to games in like the easiest to know format possible. I wish I could do like skirmish games and war games more often, but those are weird to do. Those are kind of weird to go over because I'm not able to really, like, I'm not really able to go over those as easily because I don't know those games as well. I know role-playing games fairly well. I kind of understand the ideas behind them and the maths. War games and skirmish games are a little bit more foreign to me. I've been trying to learn about them, but it's kind of difficult. I'm just a Russian, hombre. Anything special for the next homebrew thread? I don't know. It'll be the 1st of May, so I may make a bad joke about that. Generally speaking, I'm probably gonna do, like, how do I want to do this? I have a few ideas, nothing like really out of like wow big or anything, because weirdly enough, this is one weird thing. There's actually been quite a few different homebrew threads popping up on TG. I see one usually there's like the quote mid-month thread that's usually just some saying homebrew thread help. Luckily, people have at least been taking my suggestion of not putting general in the name. That's one very positive thing. I do not like, if you ever want to make a thread on TG about a topic, do not put general in the name. It will get filtered by people, especially a niche. It's, oh god, how? Yeah, I think it's got. I have a few ideas, and I always find it funny though. This is a little bit of a tangent, but I find it funny. People, I've seen in a few threads being like, oh no, like, oh, it's just Notepad, and all he does is, he responds to everybody and with like nothing. And I don't think people quite understand why I do that, is because most of those threads, what occurs is there's one line of conversation that occurs. Usually it's when two guys are going back and forth with each other over like math or something. But and this is what kind of led to the death of GDG. The game design in general back in the day was people would post something and then nobody would reply to it. Nobody would talk about it, and and people get discouraged. So I went out of my way, and I even tell people this. I go out of my way to try to respond to everything, because having somebody at least say, "Hey, this is kind of interesting. Tell me more than what you just posted. Tell me more about this." It doesn't mean jack shit. And sometimes it doesn't mean anything. Sometimes it's literally just a conversation about nothing. But it's the fact that somebody is engaging with you. And I've gotten people talking before, and it's like, well, here's my game. This will be less like, this is kind of interesting. Tell me more about your tank system that you have here, or tell me more. This seems interesting. Please tell us. And I think that kind of boils down to people aren't really good at pitching themselves. Like, if you ever want to like get a good explanation at something, just ask them, give me the pitch. And yell at them if they don't give a good one. But always try to like look at things that like aren't getting a lot of love or something like that. I know there are a few fascinating characters in that thread, and I love him to death. Masters Anon shows up every fucking month, and he posts these massive things. Like, I adore that man. He is a terrifying beast. Yeah, I think like any thread, like here's the thing, we'll hop on TG now. I think like any thread on TG that is kind of more broad than anything, like world building general, like yeah, like world building general is you have these like little lines of conversation or people just posting like something very broad. It's like kind of hard to get conversations going sometimes, and people don't talk about it. And I think it comes a lot with homebrew stuff, like mostly when it comes to homebrew games, because like it's easy to engage. I think it's easier to engage with like world building stuff sometimes, just because it's more, hey, this is more broad, this is more accessible than like, hey, I want to talk about, is our dice pools better than a single D20? And sometimes it's a little bit easier sometimes. Some people don't like the math aspects, and some people just don't know what to say. I don't know. Even though I can say a vast majority of TG is just shit posting. I love it. I love you guys to death, but God, you guys are shit posters. Also, you get to see my, if you want true nightmares, they're back, everybody. Welcome to Monster Girl World Building, otherwise known as Notepad Anon has a fucking stroke. I thought these died. There's a new writer. Oh, Jesus. What? Oh God, he's getting defensive. Oh no. Oh no. Range banning. This is one thing I've learned about range banning, and because I find it fascinating. Sometimes what occurs is like entire sections will be range banned because somebody in that IP range made a doo-doo post, or they'll do it roving. Like just entire sections won't be able to post for no reason. People have debated that it's literally Hiroshi Moot trying to get people to buy 4chan golds. You know, the VIP passes. Because don't forget, 4chan VIP is still a thing. You can still buy VIP, which I've debated on doing before. But Hiroshi Mood is not getting my money because you can only buy it using crypto or like direct bank transfer. I'm like, no, sorry, Hiroshi Mood, you can't. Like, I'm not doing this. I'm not fucking giving you cryptocurrency, or I'm not selling you fucking crypto, or like fucking linking my bank account to goddamn 4chan of all things. I'm stupid. I'm not that stupid. But yeah, no, it's like I could have like entire conversations about the nature of TG, just because it's a very fast. I've been pretty actively posting on TG since like 2012. And probably even a little bit before that, just because I was a munchkin then. Because 10 years ago, I was 14, and damn straight I was posting on the hip 4chans. Because I was a gangsta, and I was cool. I visited B. See, now I'm just tired and broken. And it's interesting seeing TG develop over the years. And like one very common thing I keep seeing is that they drove off all the developers and things. Like, I don't think people quite realize, like, Viral doesn't make any games anymore. He doesn't post very actively at all anymore. Isn't because TG drove him off. It's because he was working on things for years. Yeah, like, I think the big thing is, like, people were he was posting for years and years upon years upon years, and when he finally did release a game of Engine Heart didn't do very well. I don't think people sometimes realize that either, is that Engine Heart did not do phenomenally. It was not really, like, I wouldn't say a financial failure, but more along the lines of it wasn't like this super critical success. And a guy's gotta eat. He can't dev 24/7, and if you become known as like the funny man who does the TG games, that's where it kind of gets complicated for me in a way, where people ask me, be like, oh, where did you get your start? And I have to explain, like, I got my start on TG. I was a 4chan guy, and I do get written off sometimes. I know that. Like, come on. I know I'm not like a big blogs guy. Like, I was born in the Crucible, fucking Song of Ice and Fire role-playing threads, and I learned a lot. And there's a reason I even still continue to post on TG. It's because I care about it. You know, I like it, and it's good people. A lot of shit posting recently, but actually recently, being more like the past 6 years, but c'est la vie. Nothing you can do about it. It's the nature of things. You think we're ever going to get a TG renaissance? No, I don't think so. No, I don't. Like, I think it's like, I don't think it's Hiroshi Moon. I don't think it's anything. I think it's just the changing nature of, I think a lot of people joined, and a lot of people joined for very particular reasons, and I think a lot of refugees showed up. Not really like, oh, it's Pole or it's Pole. No. I think everyone, like, my big theory anyway, is when quests got shot, when quests got exiled, everyone got more defensive because, oh, it'll be my thread next, it'll be my thing next, and my thing is going to go away, oh, it's my thing is going to go away. So everyone became a lot more insular with each other, and anything that wasn't part of your own little in-group was bad, wrong, and shouldn't be on the board. This isn't TG, this isn't TG. And you also get a lot of people who come to TG from funny Reddit screen caps, green text things, who try too hard, you could argue. Because, like, I don't think, like, one of those things, like, people say, like, oh, back in the old days, TG was so great. No, it was the same shit. It was arguably worse at some points. TG wasn't like this fantastic place back in the day. No, it was a lot smaller, a lot more insular, and it was a lot of people just bitching at each other about the same shit. However, it was because of that, there wasn't as much moderation, there weren't enough people, everyone was kind of able to do their own thing, and that's how you got people like Viral, and who made a bunch of cool games, which, not this next Saturday, but the Saturday after, is we're going to be going over some TG games. That's what, like, Dungeons the Dragons 7th edition, what is this? Yeah, Dungeons the Dragons 7th edition 3.5. I can't even remember the full title. That's how you get things like that. But people also think that, oh, well, this was a collective effort and TG did this. No, they didn't. 2-3 guys did this and posted it to TG, which is a very different thing. You're probably try to make my own tabletop game one day. It's fun. I enjoy it. There's a reason I do it. And make something that does Guns of Icarus justice. You poor bastard. Guns of Icarus is cursed. You should know this. What the fuck? People are arguing about Star Wars. Oh, Jesus. People are posting Star Wars now. Ew. No. Okay. Like, war games are fun. Like, every time someone brings up Guns of Icarus, it's usually followed by, like, and then Guns of Icarus failed. It was like, I've always wanted to get Guns of Icarus. It's always like, this seems like a really fun game, but it's like, You got not a game, but a setting, like a unified setting, which I steal shit from. Like, the unified setting also had things like the Corgi race. It had the, had that one furry race in it. The, Virgil? It's gonna annoy me till I remember it. Also, 1d4 chance sucks. I'll be the first one to say it. Where is it? Yeah, the Korgan, that was it. Gnolls, goblins, humans, kobold. They're cute bolds, specifically. Surgles, this is it. Yeah, the Surgles. This is a Surgle, by the way. Surgles are a furry thing. Like, Surgles will never not be weird. And they're always like, oh, well, these belong on TG. No, they're fucking furries. Furries are terrifying. T-Man, who's gone over, like, two massive sets of furry games in it. Milked. You're a furry. Surprising. No, I'm not. I've gone over furry games before. And I know furries. But I am, in fact, not. Let's see, blood, family, and historical relations. The Kobieta. You're cut from the same cloth, I could tell. Nah, I'm just tired. Though I can say I have been to a furry convention before. I can say that. Random VTuber dude streaming on Twitch. Well, yeah. Hey, man, I gotta get those views, man. How else? How else am I gonna do that? Come on. Also, hi, Milk Drinker, how are you? Welcome aboard. Why are you even here? I'm alright. Just working on this. We were talking about TG. Good old fortunes. Let's see. Intricate, elegant ship combat mechanics could be fun, don't you think? I do. Like, that is, like, a solid Guns of Icarus game would actually do, I think, pretty well. Doing it, it's hard. Let's see. 4chan, TG. I know you've heard of 4chan if you've been on the internet for more than 5 fucking seconds. So, yeah, TG's traditional game. Tabletop RPGs. It's... This particular game, I wrote this one. This is what I do on this stream. I write tabletop role-playing games. I'm fixing one right now. It's called Pojedynek Kobiet. Pojedynek Kobiet Sukience, which is the women's duel, Blood on the Dress, which is a game I wrote for a game jam about fencing. Because I like fencing. And I wanted to go over it. And tabletop games are fun. Like, it's... If you've never played one, I can understand why it's a little bit weird. Like, you've probably heard of D&D before. Like, you know, that little game nobody's ever heard about. Yeah, you've probably heard of things like that. I would say, like, if you ever get interested in it, go to YouTube and watch, like, a session or two. You know, some people don't like the actual plays. But it's, like, it's fun. There's a reason I like this hobby. It's hobby. I like to engage with people. I like to talk. Make some stuff from Traveler. Traveler is a great game. That's the big thing. Here's the beautiful thing. As long as you don't copy things one for one, nobody knows. It's an homage at that point. Remember, kids, it's an homage. Let's see. The Kobiet me. Actually, if the woman has a blood relation. It has a blood relationship to another character. Want to play it? The skill system is like the best part of the game. Yeah, no, Traveler is really damn good. I've played a. Wasn't a long play. It wasn't a long game, but it was a pretty fun one. I had a lot of fun with that character. Mostly because I rolled really well. Like, the thing is, I rolled incredibly well on my character. However, I rolled shit for stats. I just rolled really well on my background, in which we interpreted as it was just complete stolen glory, that I was like this cool badass super mercenary, but I was kind of just like a grunt who just kept stealing glory from people on accident. Let's see, if the Kobiet has a blood relationship to another character, they have a +1 or -1 relationship to them, reflecting the bad intense feelings that come along with family. Especially making characters fast enough, right? Because I fear if it lasts a lot, I'm going to get some problems with the players. Making a character in Traveler does not actually take very long. However, the thing is, it doesn't take very long if you're kind of know what you're doing, and you're kind of, I would say it doesn't take a lot if you know all the skills. If you already know what you're doing, it doesn't take too long. If you are kind of going in there raw, then it can go a little bit wonky. If you know everything, it's pretty, not fast, but not like super slow. But I'm also an autist when it comes to that, so bear with me here. Let's see, reflecting the intense feelings that come along with family. This extends to blood relations. A blood relationship between another character, +1. This extends to familial relationships as well, such as being a stepsister, or step bro. What are you doing? This extends to familial relationships as well, such as being a stepsister or a being a sister-in-law. If the, how do I want to word this? If the characters, if the character player something or others, if the players, if the Kobiet decide that the families or groups have a history with one another. Actually, no, this isn't. Actually, families are considered to be a unit of some kind, being a unit. So if one side of the considered to be a unit, reflecting on the whole. So if one part of the family were to or to lose, gain, or simply change relationships, it will influence the public relationships with all of those affected. What this is effectively stating, this is one thing I want to kind of, it's hard to kind of word. It's the idea that my sister, like, or here's a good one. My brother, for example, I'm playing a character and my brother hates this other character. Cool, we hate each other. We're going to, they dislike each other. Dealing with how you have that historical relationship, there is also a problem where that character is probably not going to like you, even if not. They're supposed to kind of not like each other. Families are together. You're supposed to like that. However, if your brother marries into another family, everyone in that family is kind of going to be okay with you now. Kind of that back and forth relationship now. It's like, I don't know about you, but you don't know about me. Families considered reflecting on the whole, so if one part of the family would lose, gain, or simply change relationship will influence public relationships with all of those infected. How do I want to word this? Actually, no, we move straight to the estates. That's what we do. Because we consider these almost like, we consider families like minor estates. So large difficult every single member of that group. So difficult to fully cover every single member of that group. These are called estates and can be added just like any other members of the ensemble. They're not directly controlled. They do have a member of the ensemble that serves as the representative. The representative can face the group and can replace the group. Feels it's necessary. Ultimately, state representative is the public face, is the public relationship with the, actually, no. How do I want to word this? I know how I want to word this. I want word. Should I check out if I want to make a aforementioned Guns of Icarus TTRPG? What would you recommend? Well, you're going to need something with vehicle rules. That's kind of a first. You're going to need, well, I think the big thing to do right now is note down everything you want to do with it. Like, because, and I say note down everything you want to do with it, because you already have the anchor. You already know what you want to do. Right now, it's just formalizing those notes. It's, do you want the characters to feel important? Do you want just the ship to be important? The characters are kind of secondary. They feed into the ship. You want a lot of ship customization. Do you want to go with the rules of the game? Kind of go one for one with Guns of Icarus, or do you want to kind of do it more in the spirit of Guns of Icarus? Kind of more of the lore section. That's where it kind of gets a little bit, once you kind of nail down some of those aspects, kind of easier to say, like, look here, look here, look here. But like, actually, someone I know was working on this. Was a long ass times ago. Still around? No, it's not even around anymore. Starfinder, SteamWorld, Genesis. No, Inverse. God, this is all painful. If you're really wanting to look at things in an odd direction, I would recommend look at some pirate RPGs. I would say, what was the one that I went over before? No, 7th Sea wouldn't be terribly remiss if you want to go down more like just the actual ship movements. I know where are the other pirate RPGs? I know there are pirate RPGs. Pirate TTRPGs. Come on. Yeah, 7th Sea. Yeah, Honor plus Intrigue, 7C, Beat the Quarters is another one, apparently. Like, it's tempting just to say, like, I want to do this, and then, like, hyper-focus on it. Look at everything surrounding it, and just other ideas. Once you have kind of like that core idea nailed down, that's where things get a lot easier. But yeah, just determine all the little itty bitty parts. Once all the little itty bitty parts are done, then things get a lot easier. Let's see. Is the public, let's see, the state representative is the actually no. The states do not have a, let's see, the states, yeah, it's usually my big thing is get your anchor, which is, your anchor is just like, you can kind of think of the anchor as what's the game plan. And the idea behind that would be like, I want to emulate Guns of Icarus 1 for 1. The flow, the combat, everything like that. Or hey, I want to emulate the feeling of Guns of Icarus. High flying, kind of pirate-esque adventures with me and a crew of guys as we pilot a giant airship. From there, you end up with kind of like your core mechanic. Actually, it would be, I'm trying to remember the top of my head, it's been a while. Actually, what am I doing? I can just go to my website, selfless plug, go to my website. Please, I'm begging you. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, so yeah, then you start focusing on your core mechanics, your exterior mechanics, and then refinement. Like the big thing is like right here, the core mechanics are the hard part, but they're really not. Like the big thing with it, like, don't feel like, oh god, like, don't feel like, oh god, I don't know what certain, like, no, just pick what feels good. Like, hey, I like 3d6, then work with 3d6. Or hey, I like d20, you're gonna work with d20 then. The dice is just the medium. The engine is how the car works. You need it, and it's very good to have it. Don't panic. As long as it's doing what you want it to do, as long as you're enjoying it, that's all that matters. See, luckily, here's you mentioned Gorbino Quest players. One of the Gorbino Quest players left. Luca's gone. I don't know what happened to Luca. Luca's disappeared. I don't know where he went. He left the server. So you only have to deal with Solid now. Solid is the only Gorbino Quest player currently in the server. And I don't know why he left either. That was the interesting bit. There were no comments, no anything. I even asked some of my mods, and they said like, nope, we didn't ban anybody. Like, strange. See, the estates do not have a public-private relationship. However, the estate represented, actually, as they are so monolithic, as they are so large, it's difficult to pass down a direct relationship. Yeah, 2d6 plus mods, that's usually good. I usually like, let's see, 2d6. Yeah, 2d6 is pretty solid. I'm usually a fan of 3d6, just because I like a little bit more chaos factor. But 2d6 does work, especially if you get the mods to work correctly. Usually with 2d6, the only thing to remember is to keep the numbers, the actual like modifiers, not too high, because it starts to invalidate the actual dice a little bit, but that's kind of a me thing. States do not have private relationship, do not have a private, they are so difficult to pass down, as they are so large. $2d10 or $3d10 plus mods, which is better? I'd say 2d10. Like 2d10, I like 2d10 a little bit better on that regard, because like one thing to always remember is 2d10 has a range of 2 to 20. 3d10 has a range of 3 to 30, while also having, let's see, if the average would be, the average is 11 here, and it would be 16.5 if I remember correctly. 16.5 for 3d10. The big thing too, I mentioned this before, 2d10 can also be used for percentile. So in case ever that comes up, you can just quickly just say, making me a percentile check, which is very useful. Not private. Let's say so large private thoughts are difficult to convey. Instead, the state representatives, private relationship is the estate's private relationship is used. So it's kind of along the idea like, overall the military is pretty neutral toward you. However, the actual like captain of the military, he adores you. He thinks you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, and therefore the estate privately also really likes you. Officially, they're neutral. Making a system from zero is hard. It is difficult, not going to lie, it is difficult. However, this is like the big thing that I like doing, and what I recommend for everybody, is to get like a chart or something out. Like, this is mine. Like, some of my notes are these like vast, endless, just nightmarish, just circles of things and other things on top of each other. But like, for example, this is Lisa Badlands Rumble. It's kind of the idea of like, these would be my anchors, while these are all my like just basic notes that I want to do to feed the anchor in a way. I know I want this game to be based around campaign play. I want it to have a main and a lot of goons rather than a lot of like main characters. And it's like, okay, the boss is the strongest, goons are disposable, companions are tough and reliable, and you're gonna die. So it's kind of like that idea, like, the anchor is like a refined idea. I think that's the best way to describe what an anchor really is. Yeah, Miro.com, I love it to death. Miro's my favorite. Miro, sponsor me. I will put you right in the corner over here. I will wear you as a face. I don't care. I will do it. I love you too much, Miro. Revelations. Badland. Yeah. Lisa Badlands Rumble is Lisa the Painful. Yes, it is. It is a war, not really. It was a skirmish game based off that, more along in the Necromunda thing. It's been an idea for a very long time. Mostly based off of not Painful. It would be Joyful's state, like right after Painful into Joyful. It was more based on that. Painful broke me as a person. It was painful. It was painful. I felt true pain, and I felt very sad. Let's see, we have to do the Love Among Women section, just because it helps explain some of the ideas, being like, yeah, you can, be in relationships with other people. Romance is kind of an aspect of this thing, including among women, states, blood family. We've cleaned it up a bit. Informal, private, public. You're gonna need an overhaul. I'm gonna put a note here. Gonna have to fix that up. That shouldn't be too difficult. Now we get to go to this section. The dignity section. Oh boy, the dignity section. Like, the thing with Joyful is, like, after you get, like, kicked in the dick with fucking Lisa the Painful, moving to Joyful was like, I can't do it. Like, I'm not ready. I'm still not ready for Joyful. I know the plot of Joyful, but I'm like, I can't do it. Like, give Brad a hug. Like, I love Lisa the Painful. I adore that game. Probably one of my favorite games I've ever played. Easy. So people keep trying to get me to play a fucking weird xenophile porn game now. It's like, no, stop it, please. Why are you the way that you are? Okay, so arguments are common in court settings, from little disagreements to full-blown fisticuffs among women for dominance in the social hierarchy. Such an argument breaks out, a tense series of exchanges are delivered among the participants, each trying to goad each other into action. So, let's see. 3 attributes are used. Rock, paper, scissors. Relations of reducing and blocking. So what we need to do here is... So we're going to do biting words. We're going to do... the duel of the biting words, the duel of the court. This is heading 2. What we're going to do is we're going to make this actually, no, it would be how do I want to word this? Actually, no, we'll call it the Court of Knives. The Court of Knives. Let's see. Actually, the formalities of the Kobiet reflect her ability to manage herself in the great game of courtly combat. When what do you even call these? Arguments? You just call them arguments? Do you give them a different name? Because effectively this is the social combat system, in lack of a better word. Contremps. That's a word. I love it. Wrangle, clash, disagreement, disputes. Like, would that be a good one? So, formalities reflect their ability to manage yourself in the great game of courtly combat. Actually, courtly contremps. Contremps? Is that how you pronounce it? Contretemps. God, that's a weird way of wording it, and I love it. Of courtly contretemps. When an argument breaks out. Actually, you know, when an argument breaks out, it's out of both of the Kobieta. Formalities of court reflect her ability to manage herself and negate a contre-terre. When an argument breaks out, both of the Kobieta will choose We'll choose an attribute. Oh, we'll choose an attribute to attack with. We'll choose a formality to quote attack with. Attack with. Targeting their opponent's social weak points, or simply gathering support from the crowd against them. These work on a rock paper scissors scale. Bravado. Let's see. So bravado is countered by composure. Composure is countered by wits, and wits is countered by bravado. Actually, no. So effectively how I want this to go is, both choose in secret. So both choose in secret, reveal, roll dice. And and I should say is winner rolls the dice. Rolls the dice, reducing by successes. So it's kind of along the idea of like you're trying to match them, you're trying to match each other. It's kind of the idea of bravado is you're kind of hitting them when they're weakest. You're not trying to outwit them. It's just like you're a fucking idiot. Composure is being countered by wits, which is to say you're being outwitted. Well, wits is countered by bravado because you can't be really smart if you're just being insulted. Trying to work your way out of someone doing a direct attack is not going to work very well. So, okay, so how do we want to do this? So, okay. No. When an argument breaks out, each of the Kobieta will secretly choose a formality. Choose a formality to attack their opponent. Attack their opponent's dignity. Let's see. I will secretly choose a formality to attack their opponent with. If they are the formalities can be all of the formalities work in a rock paper scissors format with bravado beating wits beating composure, and composure beating bravado. If the revealed formality is an argument breaks out, each of the Kobieta will secretly choose a formality to attack their opponent with. All the formalities will work in rock paper scissors format with bravado beating wits beating composure, and composure beating wits. If the reveal formality is successful, the Kobiet chooses wits against the opponent against their rival's composure. Then they will roll the chosen formality. If successful, They will roll the chosen formality. For every success, they will reduce the target's dignity by that amount. So it's kind of along the idea of, like, if you know someone isn't very personable, then, or they have really low bravado, you should probably go for things that are what they're strong at. If you know they're very composed, like, go for wits, try to outsmart them. But they know that you know that, so there might be going for bravado, but since they have low bravado, it's not really going to do much. So it's a guessing game. That's literally what it boils down to. It's, how can I effectively convince you to kind of start panicking? Very successful will reduce the target's dignity by that amount. Actually, then we do so what we do is we'll do the Court of Knives. Court of Knives. Formality. Each Kobiet also has dignity. So it also has dignity. Okay, so here's the thing. Here's how we're going to handle with dignity. Dignity. Actually, no. Let's call it dignity. Each Kobiet has a dignity. Dignity and actually grace. Let's see. Each Kobiet has grace and dignity, reflecting her ability to brush off petty insults, pretty insults, and deal with the social faux pas, little social faux pas. Little social faux pas that occur. Grace is equal to the highest formality the Kobiet has, reflecting her ability to channel her. Let's see, reflecting her ability to use her personality to brush off, to deal with insults and other how do I want to word this? Let's see. Grace is the highest formality the Kobiet has, reflecting her ability to use her personality to deal with the insults and other insults leveled at her. Grace is considered to be the when grace reaches 0, they will start to reduce their dignity. Dignity is equal to the lowest formality. That primal instinct that let's see, is equal to the lowest formality. The primal instinct of annoyance and anger boiling up to the top. Okay, so when 0 when the Kobiet, let me see, when the Kobiet reaches 0 grace, it's assumed that she's lost the battle of wits, lost the battle of social warfare with her opponent. Being able to retire with a little bit of pride left. There we go. A little bit of pride left. Been a pride. However, in the courtly jungle, it's often best to go. Best to go for the. Let's see. The courtly jungle, it's often best to go for the throat. Go for the throat. Go for the throat. Trying a woman. A Kobiet may attempt to reduce their opponent's dignity to zero, resulting in social loss and social standing, resulting in a social scandal, in a social standing loss or other embarrassment. Actually, let's see. These conflicts. No, we do this. We cancel that. These call them through. Either side admits defeat before they reach 0. Let's see. Either side before they reach. Let's do. These conflicts are called off when one of 3 things occur. One party bows out. What bows out when they have reached 0 grace. 0 grace. Keeping 0 grace. Actually, no. One Kobiet bows out. A Kobiet suffers humiliation and social ramifications. See, a Kobiet suffers humiliation, social ramifications at 0 dignity, or a duel is called. These conflicts are called challenges won before reaching 0 dignity of each party, then the winner of the duel. Let's see, if the challenge is won before reaching 0 dignity of either party, then the winner of the duel reduces the number of relationship of the Kobiet by 1, or increases the number of relationships by 1, equal to their bravado formality, equal to. There we go. Equal to the highest formality. So if the challenge is won before reaching 0 dignity of either party, then the winner of the duel reduces the number of relationships of the Kobiet by 1, increases the number of relationships by 1 for themselves, equal to their highest formality. When the Kobiet loses a social conflict, they reduce all of their relationships by 1 as they become generally more pariah, being made a fool of, generally being associated with being an idiot. When a Kobieta, they call a duel with their opponent, from which dueling laws take place in the Kobieta, and the Kobieta decide on the rules, time, place, and who will attending, who's going to audit or don't play by dueling law. It's significantly less complicated, but much more dangerous. Let's see. Let's see, victory. And ramification at 0 dignity, or a duel is called. Challenges was 1 before, then the winner of the duel, and then the winner of the duel is reduces of the argument, reduces the number of relationships of the rival Kobiet by 1, or increase the number of their own relationships by 1, or equal to their highest formality. When a Kobiet loses a social conflict, they reduce all the relationships by 1, as become generally more pariah, being made a fool of, generally being associated with being an idiot. Finally, when a Kobiet reaches 0 dignity, they may instead call a duel. Pretty much, it's like, I want these things to feel really really petty, and that's kind of the point. They are supposed to feel very petty, very like, really, you're really going to start a fight over this? Like, yeah, of course we are. Be petty. Be very petty. Okay, so maybe we can do, we'll add a faux pause. Yeah, faux pause. A little social faux pause that occur. Grace is equal to the highest formality, reflecting her ability to use her personality to deal with insults leveled at her. When Grace reaches 0, they will start to reduce their dignity. Dignity is equal to the lowest formality, reflecting a primal instinct of annoyance and anger boiling up to the top. Everyone knows when this has been reached. It's kind of like one of those things, like, one of the big ideas is I want Grace to feel as though, like, Grace is kind of that, like, oh, everything's just fine, everything's just so dandy. And actually, side note, I want to do a side note. Why engage with this? Why do this? The Astrazen, let's see, the Astrazen court is a petty place of little rivalry. Little rivalries and problems. It also is the only place where women of high standing are able to get things done. A bit of influence here. Here, a bit of influence there. It's there, and suddenly, your best friend's brother is being pulled off the front. The idea is to use the relationships to inform how the characters interact with one another while using the social conflicts to resolve these petty little arguments, which have rippling effects through the court. It's more efficient for your time and effort to manipulate, to build up courtly power. Let's see, it's more efficient for your time and effort to build up courtly power, to enact change, rather than more efficient for your time and effort to build up courtly power, to enact change, rather than influence others directly. Dueling is, of course, the final recourse of honor. Even if the entire point was to goad another woman into issuing the duel toward you. Kind of along the idea being like, you want to do this because you may want to hurt somebody, or you want them to duel you, or you want to kind of build up resources, build up influence. I might put in like another section, which is like what you're actually doing there, and like actually give kind of like more of a tangible resource outside the relationships. Kind of like along the idea of being like, hey, you can totally manipulate these to do things that you want, and kind of trade in things like that for like literally just courtly favors or something like that. But generally speaking, I think we've made pretty good progress. We've overhauled these to do exactly kind of what I wanted to. Went on a little bit of a tangent, but we did what we needed to do. So I'm going to call it there for today. So thank you all for watching. My name is Notepad Anon. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will be streaming on Wednesday, probably with weapons and all that jazz, and probably Friday as well, hopefully, maybe, perhaps. So thank you all, Godspeed, good luck, and I will catch you all on the flip side. Also, tomorrow I'm going to be working on anyway the the Hyperborean mice video, because I want to kind of go over that one because it's interesting. All right, goodbye.